reception, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be time to celebrate now. We are coming to the last part of today's conference. That's the Swiss Alternative Funds Awards. Therefore, I'd like to directly hand over to the team responsible for these awards. That's Joanna Babelek, CEO HedgePole, Oliver Liechti, Zurich, University of Applied Sciences, and Stefan Steiner, Crossbow Partners. You're just coming in that sequence. We can identify you. Perfect. You need the pointer. Ah, it's over there. Yeah, perfect.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for staying around for this very last session of today's conference. We try to be quick. I have the pleasure to present the first edition of the Swiss Alternative Funds Awards. And listening to today's speakers and hearing about the plans of building out the Swiss brand for asset management as a center of excellence where assets are not only booked but also actively managed, and where ideas are cultivated and moved to execution, I think it's very important that we take our time to recognize those who actually make a difference. And this is exactly what we are trying to accomplish with the Swiss Alternative Funds Awards. As this conference is growing and maturing, this year's awards format has been adjusted to facilitate new categories, focusing even more on single manager strategies accessible to Swiss investors. However, it is also a clear continuation of a tradition to recognize the best funds and managers in the Swiss alternative funds industry. This year, we have 4 award categories: Best Swiss Hedge Fund, Best UCITS Hedge Fund, Best Swiss Fund of Funds, and Best Retail Fund of Funds. To ensure the highest possible quality in the approach and the evaluation process, 3 Swiss expert firms in the field of the alternative investments work closely together to achieve the results we are presenting to you tonight. The first one, HedgeGate, a spin-out company of the Zurich University of the Applied Sciences, focuses on providing value-added services to fund of funds investors. Those include fund ratings, quantitative analytics, and operational due diligence. Then we have Crossbow Partners, a dedicated specialist firm for global fund investments. Crossbow offers tailor-made multi-manager solutions, and the senior partners focus on manager selection and asset management. As already introduced, I am the CEO of HedgePole, an independent outsourced service provider in the field of operations for alternatives. At HedgePole, among others, we focus on collection and processing of bespoke investor-related data, such as hedge fund prices and hedge funds reference data. This year, we had very strong contestants in each category. We have received and reviewed more than 140 fund nominations qualifying in different categories. The shortlist of the nominees was drawn up by the jury following a qualitative and quantitative assessment. Now, before I hand over to the award partners, Stefan Steiner from Crossbow Partners and Oliver Liechti from HedgeGate, who will go into more details on the assessment process and, more importantly, announce the winners, I would like to thank everybody for their genuine participation. We had great representation in each category, and I also would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the firms nominated on the shortlist for an award.
Thank you, Joanna. Oliver and I will now briefly talk about the assessment process, followed by the nominations, and then, of course, disclose the winners. We received the data of all participants from HedgePole, as Joanna explained, and Crossbow then assessed the single hedge fund data. HedgeGate did the same for the fund of fund data. We prepared a shortlist for a jury, and the jury then selected out of the shortlist the 5 nominated candidates per category. Crossbow screened all hedge funds according to its alpha relative to hedge fund style benchmarks. We took the HFRI style benchmarks in the categories long, short equity, credit, relative value, and macro. We performed then the same relative to normal market benchmarks. So we wanted to see how hedge fund did in their market areas and took there the MSCI World for long, short equity and macro, the Barclays Global Hedge Fund Index for credit-related funds, and LIBOR plus 400, 4% hurdle for relative value funds. We also looked at absolute returns because in the end, you know, if you're great relative but you still lose money, it's not really bringing you far. So absolute performance was also one of the factors. Risk-adjusted returns with the Sharpe ratio and then the maximum drawdown as a risk measure were a part of that quantitative process. Based on that, the funds were ranked, and this then gave finally the shortlist for the jury. The jury then applied or considered additional qualitative factors and so came up with the nominations in the single hedge fund space. Oliver, can you talk about the fund of fund?
Thank you, Stefan. Very briefly, those of you who know already HedgeGate, it was very simple to do a ranking since we already do rankings and ratings for quite some while. So what we did actually on the fund of hedge fund side, we use the same methodology as we already do in our performance rating. So what we do is we use an alpha estimation. And here, as fund of hedge funds are very complex portfolios, we use kind of 17 market risk factors to estimate alpha. And for this, we need 4 years track. So our fund of hedge fund part is based on a 4 years window. Then we use also absolute performance. And last but not least, we use a extreme risk measurement that takes into account a classification of fund of hedge funds. So be it these extreme risk measurements are different for, let's say, long-short equity funds than relative value fund of hedge funds. And this was our basis, based on 4 years. Yeah. Okay, let's go on to the more exciting part.
To the nominations. For single hedge funds, we use 2 years just to complete that because many of the UCITS are relatively new, and with a 4-year track record, we probably wouldn't have had a large enough universe. But let's go now to the best Swiss hedge funds, and the nominations were Credit Suisse Small and Mid Cap Alpha Opportunities Fund by Credit Suisse, then the Limit Capital Equity Fund by Limit Capital Alternative Investments, Tromeus Global Opportunities Fund by Tromeus Capital, Dryas Long Short Fund by Entrepreneur Partners, and RBR European Long Short Equity Fund by RBR Capital. Those were the 5 selected by the jury out of the universe of participants. And the winner is, on this first category, RBR European Long Short Equity Fund. Well done. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Would you like to say a word?
Of course, thanks a lot. First of all, my thank you, of course, goes to the jury. Why? Right? Not only have they chosen us, but more importantly, we were nominated for the largest hedge fund award in Europe, I think. That was January 2013. And we were very hopeful we're going to win that one. Because, you know, we looked at performance, we compared things and everything. And then there was like another fund chosen. They only had one criteria: Sharpe ratio. And you know what? We had 1 month where we were up 12%. That's not good for Sharpe. And why were we up 12%? Because a lot of events happened in that month, right? It had nothing to do with the month. Yes, of course, October is when Q3 results come out, right? So, but it's the work of a year or of 2 years that crystallize in 1 month. So we lost it. So thank you for doing this great job and putting so much work into this process. So then also let me thank my fellow competitors, all of them. I think it's great to have you guys around, and I wish you all grow, right? Especially Kilian from Trias Long Short, who used to work for RBR. And so, yeah, you got a few more years, so I'm sure you're going to win one of them, right? And then I think to my team, here we have Tina, she's doing investor relations, and Chris is the chief risk officer. So if you got a moment, some time, and want to know what's going on in the kitchen of a real hedge fund, come to Küsnacht and stop by. And oh, yeah, I think he's from the other Küsnacht. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rudi. So we come to the second category of the best UCITS hedge fund, and here the nominations were Absolute Insight Credit Fund from BNY Mellon. Next. Oh, yep, sorry. Hadron Alpha Select UCITS Fund from Hadron Capital. MS PSAM Global Event UCITS Fund from PSAM. Mutzenich Long Short Credit Yield Fund from Mutzenich & Co. And finally York Event Driven UCITS Fund from York Capital. And here the winner is Hadron Alpha Select UCITS Fund. Bit a smaller team this time. Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay, I will try to be short. I'd like to, actually we are extremely honored to win this award. I would like to thank you, the jury, and everyone actually voted for us, and also our investors that actually have been with us and following us for our 10 years of history since 2004. Thank you again.
So, the nomination on the Swiss Fund of Hedge Funds. We have as well 5 nominations. IALTIS with the Areca Value Discovery. I'm sorry for the mistake, as you see now. Mirabeau for Mirald Diversified. Progressive Capital with Qualitium. UBS Stable Growth. And Reichmuth with Reichmuth Matterhorn 24. A good mix, 2 independent asset managers, 2 branches of a private bank and the big bank. And here, the winner is IALTIS.
First of all, thanks to the jury for the great work, and we're very honored for the name of all IALTIS that we have first time we win a Swiss Fund of Hedge Funds award. So it's after 6 years, always a first time. And of course, I will express all my gratitude and thank you to all our investors and to all our partners, service partners like ETOPS, which is now more fund-based, but thanks to them, we can also perform. And last but not least, last word to our competitors, like the banks and independent asset managers. The market will grow, the fund of hedge funds demand will grow if you make a good job. This is performance. With that, we can be happy next year again. Thanks very much.
So, and the very last, but not least category is the Swiss retail fund of hedge fund. Retail in a sense that they are approved for public distribution in Switzerland. And here we have Banque Privée Edmond de Rothschild, or Edmond de Rothschild, with the pre-fund Alpha Uncorrelated. We have Permel with the multi-manager Advantage multi-strategy. We have GL funds with Polygon Capital, Swisscanto with the alternative fund diversified, and UBS with the global alpha strategies. And here the winner of this category is UBS, global alpha strategy.
Just very briefly, would like to thank you, the award partners, but also the Canton of Schwyz to organize this excellent event. I think it's a tremendous platform for Swiss-based asset managers. I think we heard that several times today that there is an initiative going on to basically increase awareness of the asset management industry. We ourselves are part of a global team within UBS. We have a small team based in Switzerland, and hopefully with the support of Andreas Schlatter, who talked this morning, I hope that we can further increase the impact from our team within that team. So thank you very much for the award, and happy to be here. It's an honor. Thank you very much.
Good, then we're done with the awards event. Hopefully we see us next year. I guess we're going to do a photo and then there will be closing remarks.
Congratulations to all the award winners also from me. We'll have time to celebrate very soon as we are approaching the end of today's conference, at least of the formal part of today's conference. Key trends in asset management was not only the topic of today's conference, you know, it's also a key trend to conclude our conference with drinks. That's going to happen very soon. This gives you the opportunity, will give you the chance to draw your own conclusions from today's event. We heard several times that it's of vital importance to bring all the representatives of the different asset classes to one table. We've also heard from Mr. Grünblatt that we need to have a common dialogue, a common strategy to develop a globally recognized brand. Let's use today's drinks reception as an approach to go into that direction. Once again, I'd like to thank all the sponsors for their great contribution for today's conference. You know, LGT Capital Partners, Questa, Capital Ernst & Young, Fundbase, US Tax, Morgan Stanley, Notenstein, Private Bank, Schweizer Kantonalbank, Business Network Club, and Höfe Standort Kanton Schwyz. Obviously, I'd like to thank all the speakers once again for their great contributions today, for the inspiring presentation. Next, I'd like to thank, obviously, you, ladies and gentlemen, for traveling to Pfaffikon, for actively participating today, for all your questions, for the good dialogues we were able to set up. And a big thank you also to the Department for Economic Affairs of Canton of Schwyz for organizing this conference once again, for everyone that was supporting this conference. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I hope to see you later for some drinks outside. Have a nice and safe journey back home. We hope to welcome you next year again to Pfaffikon. Thanks very much.